Hope everyone's doing well. I originally wasn't going to do any more videos for a while, but I had a dream last night. And I really don't cry very often, or cry very easily. In fact, I can't even remember the last time I cried. But I woke up at 2 o'clock this morning after having this dream in tears. And I've still been up since 2 o'clock. I tried to go back to sleep but couldn't. So I just got up and made coffee. But it's because of this dream that I'm doing this. My dream last night, I don't remember exactly what the situation was, but I was sitting at a fast food place. It's kind of like our A&W here. It might even been there. I don't know. But I was sitting there, and they have these picnic tables outside where you can either, they have one of those old car hop, still have the old car hop thing, and you have the indoor seating, and they also have some tables outside where you can go out and sit at the picnic tables. I don't know if that was the place or not, but it was like it in my dream. And I was sitting there. Excuse me, been having a cough this afternoon. My allergies are kicking up, so bear with me. But I was sitting there and just eating my burger or whatever I was doing, and there was this group of girls that were sitting over at the next table, and I just happened to look over there, and there was like 6 girls. There was 3 sitting on one side of the on the bench of the picnic table, and 3 sitting on the other side. And I looked, and one of them was Kylie. And I was sitting there looking at her, and finally I just kind of looked over toward her, and I said, "Excuse me." I said, "Is your name Kylie?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh." And honestly, I don't remember really what the conversation was, but we talked for a few minutes, and she looked at me and she says, "Please help me." And I said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And she didn't really say. She just says, "Please help me." And I said something about, your friends look really nice. Looks like you have some really nice friends. And she goes, "Yes." She goes, "These friends are nice." She says, "They all died too." And then I woke up. Man, that struck me hard. It really did. It really struck me hard. And I laid there, and my mind was racing. I couldn't go back to sleep. And I don't know, maybe it was my subconscious playing tricks on me. I don't know. But to me, it was kind of a message saying, don't quit yet. Keep digging. Please help me. So, that's what, boy, that's what I'm trying to do tonight. I've been thinking about a lot of things. There's a lot of questions that I have, and I'm sure all of you have as well. I know we all do. And let me just interject this as well while I'm thinking of it. If nothing else, this incident with Kylie has brought a lot of us together. There's a lot of us communicating and coming together and working toward a common goal that I didn't know any of you before we started this. And even though I don't know any of you personally, at the same time, I feel like there's like this bond between us. You know, we're all on the same team. We're all trying to do the same thing, all trying to accomplish the same purpose, and that is to find the truth. You know, they say that there's something good that comes out of everything. There's also the scripture in the Bible that says that God works all things for good. A lot of times we don't see that good until some time has passed. And it's not always easy in the present, but the good happens in the future. And so I want us tonight, I've got 7 things that I want to bring up. 7 things I want us to look at. Now, some of it's going to be a little redundant, but if some of you haven't seen any of my videos before, it'll be the first time that you've heard it. I'll try to be as little redundant as possible, but there are a few things that are going to have to be repeated in order to get to the gist of what we're after, at least what I'm after tonight. And so I hope that this will be helpful. I hope that maybe it might find a few answers for some of you. There's a lot of you that know a lot more about this stuff and have done a lot more investigating than me. I just haven't had the time to delve into it like I'd like to. But I hope that this is helpful. And so let's get into it. So my first question is, when they initially started searching for Keily before AWP was notified, how many lakes did they actually search? I know in one of Sammy's interviews, she says that they searched extensively, and that she mentioned Prosser, she mentioned I can't think of the name of the second one. Stampede. She mentioned Stampede. She mentioned Boca. So, and of course, you know, take what she says with a grain of salt. But if they were out searching for her for 2 weeks before AWP showed up, if they searched all of these lakes, why is it that they didn't tell AWP, oh, yeah, we've searched Prosser, you can check that off your list. We've searched Boca, you can check that off your list. We've searched Stampede, you can check that off your list. We've searched all these whatever other ones there are around there. We've searched all those, you can check those off your list. Why is it that they just mentioned Prosser? Why is it that they seemingly tried to talk AWP out of searching Prosser? I mean, that's a real legit question right there, people. I know we like to think that law enforcement, excuse me again, that law enforcement wouldn't lie to us, wouldn't try to deceive us, wouldn't try to cover things up. But boy, I tell you what, it sure as hell looks suspicious. Why, of all the lakes, did they say, oh, you know, I mean, and you notice when in AWP's video, I think they were biting their tongue a little bit, to be honest with you. Because you can kind of tell by Doug's attitude, it's like, yeah, they told us we don't need to search here. Like they were like really adamant about it, you know. You don't need to search here. Which, honestly, I think Jared and Doug have pretty good intuition. And I think that they probably, when they were told that, were like, yeah, if we don't search anywhere else, we're going to search Prosser. It's almost like they picked up on a certain vibe or a certain deception. And I'm so glad that they didn't just take law enforcement's word for it and let it go. But considering all the other things with this case and how they've botched everything, it seems like they've deliberately screwed everything up along the way. I mean, if you wanted to write a textbook on how not to do an investigation, you could take this case here and write a whole book about it. On what not to do and how to screw things up. And it almost seems like it's deliberate. I mean, I can't imagine them doing that with all the public scrutiny that's going on right now. But again, even if there is public scrutiny, how do we prove it? There may be a way to do it. There may be somebody that heard something that will later squeal on them. But to me, it's just, for them to say that, for them to say, don't search this lake, and especially, like I said in another video, there was a boat out on the river, and I don't know, it wasn't law enforcement people, they weren't like in uniform or anything, I don't know who they were, but they had a little buoy out there, and there's a lot of people that have this, video or screenshots of it on their videos. It was right out there, right above where Kylie's vehicle was. And then, like I described, when Zaname went down there with her kayak, there was an arrow drawn in the dirt with a stick, I assume, directed right at where Kylie's vehicle was found. You start having too many coincidences, it's almost like it starts becoming fact. And so I think we need to keep asking that question. Why did you tell AWP not to search Prosser Reservoir? I don't know, man. Something's wrong with this picture. Okay, the second question was actually, I just kept on blabbing and already covered that. And the second question was actually why, if they'd searched all the other lakes, did they tell AWP not to search it? All right. So, because of my big mouth, we've already covered the first two questions, which is fine. They kind of go hand in hand anyway. I guess that's why I kept rambling on about them. The third question is, after the vehicle was found, why did they why did they rush AWP away so quickly? I'm sure that they did some research on them when they found out that they were coming. At least I would assume they would. Or maybe they didn't give a crap enough to do it. Who knows? But knowing their track record and their expertise on the matter, and their much more extensive experience in extracting vehicles and doing it in the correct way, why, as soon as AWP found the vehicle, they told them, okay, we'll go over on the other side, get away from here. I've noticed when I've watched most of AWP's videos, I mean, sometimes law enforcement tells them to go away. But most of the time, law enforcement either asks them for their advice, allows them to assist with the extraction, or at least lets them stand there and watch. They made AWP go clear on the other side of the lake, as I recall. Doesn't that seem a little suspicious to you? It sure does to me. I don't know whether they didn't want them interjecting, you should be doing it this way or that way, which they wouldn't have done unless they were asked. But it sure makes me wonder, what was it that they didn't want AWP to see? Why did they rush him away so much? Or so quickly? Again, everything that we've looked at so far is suspicious. And like I say, there may be something that might look suspicious, but when everything starts to look suspicious, you know, it's kind of like if it looks like a duck, smells like a duck, tastes like a duck, must be a duck. I think we got us a duck. Quack, quack. But anyway, it just, to me, it's like we don't want you watching what we do, you know, for whatever reason, whether it's because they screwed something up or did something shady, bringing it out of the river or out of the lake. I don't know. But it just seems, especially as inept as they obviously have been thus far. I don't know if it's an ego thing, but I'm sorry, something like this, you need to check your ego at the door, and you need to strive for the best result. Don't let your ego screw up the case. So I don't know if it's their ego or if they're covering something up or what it is, but whatever it was stupid. Plain dumb. Idiotic. Moronic. What other adjectives can I think of? Pendejoish. I don't know. But it was just wasn't right. Wasn't right. Question number 4. Why didn't they do things right? Why didn't they follow the basic rules of crime scene and evidence securement? This is the one that gets me. They, rather than taking the vehicle out and the way it went in the water, wrapping the windows and everything else. Now, Check It TV, I just watched the video a little bit earlier, and he thinks, and I tend to agree with him, that he thinks that with the 2 of the windows being down, when the vehicle went in the water, that when the vehicle hit the water and then rolled, that the things that were washed out of the vehicle happened when the vehicle flipped over. And that does make sense. That does make sense, because apparently what he was told by law enforcement is that they made sure that everything that was in the vehicle was there. I don't know how they did that, not wrapping the windows, but he seems to think that the stuff fell out when the vehicle, rolled when it hit the water and slipped upside down. But that still doesn't excuse the fact, why did they not send divers down in the water to recover the evidence? And even if it was too dark by the time that they took the vehicle out or whatever, I think it was still light, but let's just say they used as an excuse that it was too dark, why didn't they send somebody there the next morning? Can't use that excuse then. I can't fathom what, especially since when Check It TV went out there, you could see everything right there where Kylie's vehicle was, or close to it, within excuse me, he said within like 6 to 8 feet of where the vehicle was, I believe. You can watch the video and check me on that, but I think that's what he said. I know it was in a 6 to 8 foot area, but I don't remember if he said it was like that far from the vehicle, or from where the vehicle was. But anyway, obviously it was in the same area. It was Kylie's stuff. It was identified as being Kylie's stuff. But yet they never sent anybody down to check. I guess because maybe they did have divers in the water and they didn't see anything come out of the vehicle, possibly. That is a possibility. That they didn't see anything come out when they flipped it, so they assumed there wasn't anything else there. But they still should have checked the immediate area. I mean, that's just basic investigation. I mean, freaking kindergartner could figure that out. A monkey could figure it out. You send a monkey down there, he'd probably do a better job. I'm so bad, but probably true though. But they didn't secure the evidence, and the bad thing about that is if they, let's say that they were able to get some information off of the laptop, because if you've watched Duty Ron and some of the other ones that they've gone into the technical side of it, they said, there's a possibility that Kylie's iPhone is tied to the iPad and her MacBook. So even if they were to get, information off of there, the lawyer can go in there and just totally blow up their chain of custody. How do you know it wasn't altered? How do you know somebody didn't do this to it? Because they don't have to prove that. All they have to do is plant doubt in the jury's mind. Because the conviction, if it's a criminal trial, it's got to be beyond a reasonable doubt. And if you can create a reasonable doubt by questioning the chain of custody on things and saying that it was tainted, which, boy, a lot of people have gotten off because of that. And let me tell you a real quick story, just to kind of lighten the moment a little bit. Speaking of, that still cracks me up. This guy went into a local Safeway store and he shoplifted this block of cheese, right? So he shoplifts this block of cheese, and the officer who was handling the case was kind of a ding-dong to begin with. He was kind of a doofus. And so anyway, all he did, he brought the cheese, he took it for evidence. He brought the cheese into the squad room, stuck it in the fridge. One of the dispatchers came to work, working swing shift, or I think it was working swing shift. He goes in there, and he's like, "Oh, there's some cheese." Well, if it ain't marked, and that's the rule. If it's not marked, it's mine. That was the thing. If you bring food in there, you put your name on it. You mark it. Otherwise, it's fair game. Because we had some people say, "Hey, come in there and eat my food." And so the chief's like, "Well, then you need to mark your food. If it ain't marked, it's fair game." That's the rule. So anyway, I remember he came in there, and we had this restaurant called Maudie's that had the best hamburgers. Oh, it had these broiler burgers. And anyway, he comes in there, and one of the guys comes in and goes, "I don't know about you, but I'm hungry. Let's go have some lunch." And he's like, "Yeah." So he just goes and throws. He didn't even take the time to mark it, put an evidence tag on it or anything. He just throws the cheese in the fridge and goes to lunch. And this other guy comes in, whose name was also Kevin, and he's like, "Oh, cheese." Well, I didn't know. I wasn't there when they went to lunch, and so I just saw the cheese in there too. I didn't know it was evidence. And so he took the cheese out, and he goes, "You want a hunk of cheese?" I'm like, "Heck yeah, I'm hungry." So we sat there and we ate about half that block of cheese. And Ed gets back, the guy whose evidence it was. He gets back. He goes down to the fridge and like, "So I'm freaking cheese." He just thrown a fit. And we're like, "Well, it wasn't marked. We didn't know it was evidence." So he ended up having to go back to Safeway and go in there and find another block of cheese that was the same weight and the same price. And they took that into court as evidence. Which, that's kind of one of those iffy areas. But the thing is, he wasn't trying to be deceptive. He was just the guy had stolen it. This one he brought in there was the same weight and the same price. But so yeah, but boy, if somebody would have found out that he did that, well, that guy would have got off. Well, maybe not. They still might have, because there was a testimony of the store and and all that stuff, and the employees that saw him steal it, and the fact that Ed could have testified that, yeah, he did have the cheese on him. I took it, put it into evidence, and there's little blankety blanks in there, ate my cheese. Yeah, that would look good in court, wouldn't it? He'd look like a really competent officer. Oh man, yeah, we have all kinds of stories like that. But I don't even remember where the hell it was. Chain of evidence. But you have to keep a chain of evidence. I mean, if you want it to stand up in court, there's got to be a good chain of evidence. And the fact that they didn't even send anybody down there to look for anything, you don't assume, well, we went down there, we didn't see anything coming out of the vehicle. That doesn't mean it didn't. I mean, come on now. If you knew that it flipped when it went down, things are on its freaking top, there might be a good possibility that something came out when it flipped. You might want to try to look. But they didn't even bother. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but to me it just seems like this whole thing, they don't give a crap. They don't care. When Chicken TV went down there to get that, when he did recover Kylie's laptop and stuff, it took him forever to get somebody to come down there and gather the evidence. I mean, come on, that is a crucial piece of evidence. Her laptop. It could have a ton of information on there. You don't know what pictures she took or what, with her phone that, went to the cloud that they can access with that laptop, or might even be on her hard drive. You don't know what might be on there that might show what happened. You never know. So, and honestly, I kind of doubt they'll ever find the phone, because if it was foul play, I guarantee you somebody took her phone and they either drove a long ways away from across the reservoir and tossed it in the trees and bushes, or like one case that I investigated myself, it happened out in the woods like that, out in the country, and they drove all the way into town, went down behind, I can't remember which store it was behind, and threw it in a dumpster. And then we had some homeless guy that I don't remember, at the time I knew, but I don't remember now how it was that he knew that this phone, that they were looking for this phone. The cops were looking for the phone. And he's going into this dumpster, I think it was behind a fast food place, if I remember right, or a restaurant. And he was going back into the dumpster trying to find something to eat, and he came across the phone. He recognized it as the one that we were looking for. And he walked over to a payphone. Yeah, this is back when we used payphones. He walked over to a payphone, called us, and back then we didn't have 911. But he called the operator and said he needed to talk to the police, and so she put him through for free. Called us and said, I have the phone. Where are you at? I'm down here. Okay, we'll be right there. We went down and retrieved the phone. So, that phone could be anywhere. I highly doubt if they don't have it by now, they'll never find it. I can almost guarantee you. Because whoever it was, if this was foul play, that phone is a long, long way from there. And they probably smashed it. Probably smashed the SIM card so it can't be traced. And dumped it out in the middle of nowhere. Or maybe threw it in another river or something, who knows. So I don't think they'll ever find it. So thus, if that's the case, it just makes that MacBook that much more important to find. And law enforcement didn't seem to really care about it. And I don't understand that at all. I don't understand it. It's just none of this makes sense to me. But anyway, That's so much for that question. All right, question number 5. Why were the parents telling their kids to be quiet and not to come forward? I just don't see that as normal behavior. I mean, if it was my kid, I'd be grabbing him by the ear and dragging him down to the police department. You're going to tell them everything if you want to eat tonight. Of course, a lot of parents are soft nowadays, and they want to be friends to their kid instead of a parent to their kid. You know, it's like, hey, you're not there to be their friend. You're there to be the parent and make sure that they stay safe, whether they like it or not. There was a lot of things my parents did. They were strict. They were old school. There was a lot of things that I did not like growing up. Trust me, a lot of things. I never got to go to the parties. And I'd just be, I'd sulk, mad, upset and stuff, and they didn't care. They said, we know what goes on at those parties, and you're not going. The one time I did sneak out, it was after a basketball game, my junior year, and we went out. It was the first time I ever drank beer, and we were out driving around. We were doing that where you go around. It's like 2:00 in the morning, knocking on people's doors and running. We were having a great time, and anyway, I got home about 5:00 in the morning. Figured, cool, get home this late. Mom and Dad will be in bed. I'll sneak in my window. Or actually, no, I actually think I came through the kitchen door because they were sitting right there when I walked in the door. 5 a.m. My mom had been calling every police department in the valley. And what I thought was funny is one of the police departments said, yeah, we saw him. He went through town about 3 a.m. Just one problem. I wasn't in my car. I was in somebody else's car. So it wasn't my car they saw. I thought that was kind of funny being a kid. It's like, yeah, you thought you got one over on me. Yeah, and then they grounded me for friggin' 9 weeks, took my keys. I had to walk to school for 9 weeks, couldn't drive my car. Guess what? I never went drinking again in high school. Taught me a good lesson. But why are these parents telling their kids, don't get involved, don't talk to the cops, don't tell them anything, don't get involved, keep quiet? All of them? All of them are telling their kids that? One of the gals, I'm so sorry, I can't not remember, it's CNY or CYN or something, CNY, something or other. She has some really good information, and she goes into this theory that they're all kind of like run by a large cult. You notice at Lindsay's speech at the Celebration of Life, you see women there in these robes. They're like these ceremonial robes, gowns, but they're actually robes. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? And so maybe they're afraid to come forward. Maybe they're like afraid of repercussions if they open their mouth. Because I know that so many of you, just like me, have gotten like these very cult-like vibes from this community. I have never heard the word community heard as much as I've heard it in the last couple of weeks from the stuff that I've watched on the news and other clips, of people from Truckee and Lindsay and her family, the community. And it just seems like they're all apathetic. like one guy said, he said, and I know Mag showed some emotion in one thing where she was crying really hard. But the thing is, was she crying because she felt bad for Kylie, or was she crying because she thought she was in deep caca? I don't know. It looked real to me. It looked like she was really genuinely sad. You know, and like other people, I mean, Sammy almost looks like, to be honest with you, she reminds me of a sociopath because she has absolutely no emotion. You look at her eyes when she's talking about Kylie, there's no sadness there. There's nothing. It's like neutral. She's just neutral. There's no emotion. There's no, oh, we like it, we want her back, we want to do this. There's no sadness in her voice. It's just a very matter of fact, like you're doing a speech, you know. But it really makes me wonder, because that's just not normal. I know where I grew up, if parents found out that their kid knew something about it, they'd be marching their butt down to the police department. See, you need to go in there and tell them what you know. There's always a few that, you know, they don't want to tarnish their family name, and so they don't want their kid. And this is kind of an, you know, Truckee area. It's kind of an affluent area. So it's like, you know, a lot of times well-to-do people think they're above everything. You know, makes me sick, you know, somebody like that, to be honest with you. But there's got to be a reason other than they're afraid of getting in trouble. Because if you didn't have anything to do with it, but you have information, oh, you don't want, you know, they're afraid of ratting out their friends, you know, stuff like that. You know, and I understand that, you know. There's a lot of times, you know, I didn't tell on my friends, but they never killed anybody either. You know, it was a lot of minor stuff, you know. I don't know if I would have told on them or not. I mean, if they had, you know, like really badly injured somebody or killed somebody, hell yeah, I'd come forward on it. There's no way. You know, there's no way in good conscience that I could keep that to myself when I had that information. But you have all these people, like we keep saying, and everybody keeps saying, all these people there, somebody had to see something. Here's something not related to what I'm talking about, but just something that came to mind today. And I could be totally off on this, and so let me know if I am. I remember seeing a couple of videos about these guys at the party, and I don't know whether it was this party or not. I think it was supposed to be. And these guys are out there in these vehicles, you know, flipping cookies or flipping donuts, you know, whatever you call it. Out there scooting around on, you know, a car just swinging around. Makes me wonder if Kylie was still there when all this rowdiness, supposed rowdiness, when the guy blocked the road and all that crap, when all this stuff was going on, if she was still there at 1 a.m. or even 12:30, when a lot of this stuff was going on, could it be possible that somebody's out there squirreling around? And it's really hard to control a car on gravel, really hard. And that's pretty much what you have out there, dirt and rocks, and gravel. He's out there squirreling around, spinning, flipping donuts. It'd be possible that somebody lost control of a vehicle and hit Kylie. Of course, if it was her at Boca the next day, then that's kind of a moot point. And I actually tend to think it was her at Boca, just because of all the things that have been said about it. But let's just say it wasn't. And I'd say she didn't OD, but was injured some other way, like a vehicle swerving out of control, spinning cookies out there. But I don't know, again, I don't know 100% certain if that, you know, those videos were at this particular party. And I don't know whether anybody has talked about, I know they've talked about it being rowdy and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know about that. But that sounds like something kids would do, though. I mean, we used to do crap like that all the time. We just didn't hit anybody. Although, when I was a cop, I did investigate. It was one of the first deaths that I investigated was someone who had been hit by a car at a party. With the driver was kind of doing the same kind of stuff. He was monkeying around and screwing around, trying to be cool, trying to be funny, and ended up accidentally running over the guy, killing him. So it's a possibility. But and one thing I was doing a little bit of research, and I found out that there has been a mass migration of people from San Francisco to the Truckee area. And if you do a little bit of research on San Francisco and the cults in that area, there's a lot going on. And if they were into that there, when they moved to Truckee, they'd bring their baggage with them. So I don't know, there's got to be a reason that these parents are like this and not letting their kids speak up. It's just not normal. Just not normal. Could it be that it's a cult type of thing and they're afraid of repercussions if they talk? Probabilities may be kind of low, but it is a possibility. Okay, question number 6. Why did law enforcement just kind of sit quiet and let Sammy start running things? Bruh. What? You're going to let an 18-year-old kid who might be involved with her disappearance run things? Considering the fact that she said, oh, even if you've already talked to law enforcement, come talk to me. Why? What would be the need if they've already talked to law enforcement, told them what they know? I don't like the fact that she was saying that things should be filtered through her, and I don't like the fact that Jagger, even though he's been cleared, was saying crap like, the sheriff's office wants to filter things through me. That was an outright lie. Why? I mean, to me, it seems like they were in cahoots as much as they try to say that they don't really hang out. Well, obviously they do, as we've seen in other videos. Why were they saying this? So even though they've cleared Jagger, to me, I still think he's covering for Sammy. Just by the stuff that he said and his attitude. Why are they standing there letting her do this crap? Because I guarantee you, where I was a cop, if we had some kid come out and try to start doing stuff like that, we'd have put the kibosh on that like right now. We'd be like, no, you're not doing this. These kids are not coming to you. And you know what, to be honest with you, the reason I think that she was trying to do this and have this teens only meeting, I think that they were trying to establish a narrative. And here's one of the reasons why. You remember what Sammy said in her interview, all the things that she said in that interview on All America Dream Chaser, right? Or in other interviews too, but things that she was saying. And then on that one news interview where Mags, who supposedly left the party after 10 minutes, is talking about, oh yeah, we normally don't have parties like this, and we normally don't have those kind of drugs at here, and then listen to the stuff that she was saying, and you'll see that she was basically parroting everything that parroting the narrative that Sammy had established. So it's just like, if you commit a crime as a group, and you're trying to establish your alibi, you got to make sure that all of your stories match. And so you've got to have everything in order, to make sure that you're all telling the same story. And to me, that seems like that is exactly what's going on here. Yeah, let's have this team meeting. Drop your kids off and get the hell out of here so you can't hear what we're talking about. Cops, stay away so you can't hear what we're talking about. Everybody, just teenagers only. Everybody stay away so we can have our meeting. And I would really like to be a fly on the wall or on a tree or whatever, since they were probably outside. I would really like to be able to hear what it was that they talked about, because I can almost guarantee you, all right, here is the narrative. Let's make sure that we all have the same story, which is exactly what Mags was spewing, because there's no way if she left that party, I don't think she did, but let's just say that she left that party after 10 minutes. If that really is the case, there is no way that she would know that information that she was talking about. All she's doing is spewing what Sammy had said earlier. Same narrative. One thing you find in interrogation is if you have a group of people and you talk to them separately, if they haven't collaborated, their stories are all going to be, they might have seen the same thing, but they're all going to come across as a little different. And sometimes they don't always match. Not in crucial stuff, it's just the way that the particular person remembers things as opposed to the other person. But when they come on there and they've got the exact same story, almost word for word, red flag. Yeah, you know what's going on. It's pretty obvious that they've gotten together and said, okay, this is the story. Make sure that we all have the same story. Because if they haven't collaborated, the stories are never exactly the same. Nobody sees things or remembers things the same. Even if they are telling the truth of what they recollect seeing, they're never going to be the same, exactly the same. They're always going to be different. And so you got these kids coming out giving the same narrative. Oh, we know where that came from. There's no doubt in my mind where that came from. But my question is, why did law enforcement just sit back and let this happen? Don't they have enough sense to know what's going on? I do. Y'all do, too. It's like they're just burying their head in the sand and ignoring it. It's just like, let her run things. Let's let her do our work for us, because we're lazy asses and we don't want to do it. That's how it comes across to me. It's the way they've acted this whole fiasco. Like they don't want to, we don't want to bother wrapping the vehicle. We don't want to bother floating the vehicle. We don't want to bother going down and getting the evidence. It's like they just don't want to be bothered with any of it. It's not that important to them. Yeah, it's not their child. But then again, some family members have acted like it's not that big a deal either. But take that for what it's worth. But why did they do that? Why? We would not have allowed it. We would have put the kibosh on it. We would have said, no, this is not going to happen. You need to come to us. It doesn't need to be filtered through some 18-year-old. We wouldn't have allowed it. Why did they? Okay, and the last question is, if they announce that they've decided that this is an accident, is that just going to stir things up and invite more public scrutiny? Because those of us who are convinced that it is not an accident and could not be an accident are not going to let this drop. I don't know about y'all, but no. There's no way. I just don't see any logical way that this could be an accident. And so if they come out and say, yeah, we've declared this to be an accident, it's kind of like them back south that they found this guy that was kind of one of the town scrounges that the cops didn't like, and they found him at the bottom of a lake with 3 or 4 chains wrapped around him, an anvil hung over his neck, padlocks all over, keep locking the chains to his body. They drug him up out of there, and the sheriff looks and he goes, that's the gall darndest case of suicide I ever seen in my life. And if they do that in this case, I can't see letting them get away with it, to be honest with you. I don't know what has to be done, but I know there's a whole army of people out here who believe, like I do, that this was not an accident, that it was foul play, that whether it was murder or somebody fed her something that killed her, like fentanyl, or if somehow she got injured and died, whatever it was, she's not going to drive the vehicle drunk down that road that's almost impossible to pass at night, drunk, go into the water, and then not, no matter how drunk or high you are, once that water hits your butt, she would know that that passenger window was open. There's no way that she would have crawled to the back of that vehicle, and there's no possible way she could have floated back there. So if they rule this an accident, I don't know about you, but I am not about to let this drop. I'm not going to settle for that. I tell you what, they better frickin' release the information to the public so we can scrutinize it. You don't keep all that stuff behind locked doors where if there was corruption and cover-up going on, nobody can get at the paperwork and the documents and look and see how everything was handled. No, we want to know. And so if it does come back an accident, I know y'all are with me. We're not giving up on it. Not giving up on it. We're going to do what we can to make sure. I keep thinking back to that dream I had this morning. Help me. Help me. Yeah, I am, Kylie. I'm going to do everything I can. And I know that probably everybody listening to this video feels the exact same way. We got you back. Oh, by the way, Lindsay, we got this. Yeah, we got this.